We are live over on YouTube. You're all set to go ahead and get started.
All right. Hang on a second here. Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing okay. This week, let's start it out with some questions that you guys are running up against out there in the market, whether you're prospecting or you are working with people to get their statements or whatever. Let me see if I can help you out with that. So if we can start it off with questions, that would be great.
Yep. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and click the React button and raise your virtual hand. Doesn't look like we have any questions.
All right. So basically, what we talk about every week is making sure that we're getting out there and grabbing three statements from the merchants that you're going after. That's the hardest thing in this industry to do. It's the simplest, but it's the hardest. So I don't know. The things that I always do is, promote that we'll give you a free consultation on your merchant services, and we can give you a free quote and tell you what we're doing, and then we can explain to them all kinds of, different options, whether it be traditional credit card processing or it's going to be the dual pricing. One big thing that I hopefully I cover every week is that there is a $5.5 billion lawsuit that was settled through Visa and MasterCard. And I know that Tyler and the people at DAC all have this information on their training site, but we have until February to get with merchants to say you need to file the class action suit, so that you can that lawsuit, so you can get your fair share of that money. A lot of people have no idea what the heck you're talking about, so you got to reference that material that we probably have inside the training site for DAC reps. Read that stuff, look at it, and then call your connections and let them know that, hey, I don't know if your rep has let you know, but I'm letting you know. And I think it's it would be a lack of responsibility if your rep didn't bring you up to date on doing this. Some merchants that you talk to are doing, millions a year, so they do have a good refund coming back. It's kind of a long process to get it in, but once you follow that and you go to the card settlement site and you go through all that stuff, you guys are going to have a good opportunity of impressing a merchant that you're doing that. So the question is pretty simple. When you're talking to them, you just say, hey, has your rep brought you up to date that you're entitled to some money coming from Visa and MasterCard? And 10 out of 10 of them are going to go, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then you've got the script and you've got everything right there on the stuff that we've sent into the training portal to bring up to them. If they're confused on that and you're with a merchant, get on the phone with me and I'll explain everything that they're doing, because there is some pretty serious money out there. $5.5 billion is going to be divided by the number of people that are in that class action suit. So if there's only a certain amount of them, let's say, 20,000 people in the country, you're going to be one percentage of that 20,000 merchants out there. Who knows what that number is going to be, but it's going to be a pretty decent size. So I would go after that. And then, like I've always told you too, if people are stingy with their merchant statements, one of the things that you can do is get with them, and basically what you need to do is you need to find out the three numbers that are important to us finding that out. So the three things that you need: one is the volume that they process a month. Now, if you say, how much volume do you process a month? They might go, what's volume? It's the dollar amount that you are processing using credit cards monthly. So that's going to be 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, 300,000, whatever it is. The second thing that you need to find out from them, so they might give you the answer. They might say, I do 100 grand a month. Okay. So now that you're jotting that down when you're talking to them, then you say, do you know how much you're being charged on that? If they say, I really don't know, but I'm going to guess it's 3.2, 3.3. Okay. Well, by looking at that, that based on our dual pricing, if you're doing $100,000 times, let's just call it 3%, they're paying 3,000 a month times 12. You might want to mention to them, hey, do you realize you're paying $36,000 a year for credit card fees? And they go, yeah, and I hate it. Okay. Well, we can eliminate that by giving your customers an option to either pay us via a check or cash or pay us using a credit card. If they choose to use a credit card, obviously, as a business owner, you don't care if you're getting cash. You'd probably prefer cash over checks so you don't have to, take the time to go to the bank and get all the checks in there and everything like that. Plus, a little bit tougher because you don't know if that check's good. So if you can get that information, the dollar amount that is processed a month, the fees that go along with that, you just multiply the volume times the fees, and you can come up with a number and say, I'm not even looking at your statements, but I'm pretty sure you're paying $36,000 a year. Would you like to eliminate that? And they'll say, yeah, I'd like to. All right. Well, I don't even know the ticket of entry to get us to look at that. We have to look at your report card from each month that you've been processing. Now, people will say, what the heck do you mean a report card? Well, your merchant statement is your report card. It tells me exactly how much money you put through the credit card terminal. It tells me exactly how much you paid for that. And when we figure it out, generally businesses, some of them that are paying attention know their rates, but some of them you'll talk to will have no idea. So if you get that information, and then the fees charged on those dollars, and then the percentage charge on those dollars, obviously, if they know it, then you're okay and you know where you stand. But most every single merchant understands one thing. I know how much the processing bank took out of my bank account last month. They'll know that number guaranteed. So to get these numbers, jot this down because it can get confusing, but if you want to get the percentage, you divide the fees. So let's just say somebody told you 3.0 is the fees. Pop that into your phone calculator, or if you're talking to them on the phone, pop it into a desktop calculator. You divide the 3%, right? Or you divide number two, I'm sorry, fees charged. So if they tell you, $3,000 were my fees. All right. And then you divide that by the $100,000 in volume, you then know, I mean, those are pretty simple numbers we're using, but they're at 3%. So now you've got all those. So to get the percentage, divide the fees that they are charged in dollars. Okay. So whatever that dollar amount is, they take it out, divided by the volume, that'll give you the percentage. To get the volume, if they go, I have no idea how much volume I do. All right. You're going to divide number two, 3.00%, right? Right? You're going to do that. So you're 3.00%, you're going to divide that by the volume. Whoops. So if I'm doing it on a calculator, just make sure I'm telling you guys right. So you got 3% divided by the volume, which they'll guess on that, and it will tell you that is also 3%. So you're getting to the same number. You're getting that. So if you do 3,000 divided by the percentage that they give you, I'm sorry, I misquoted that. Take the fees that they most likely know, and then if they're guesstimating on the percentage being charged, you'd say, I don't know, what do you think? What do you getting charged? Divide that by 3%. That's going to give you the $100,000 volume that you need to look at. So take the $3,000 that they're being charged, right? And divide that by the percentage, and you have to put in the percent sign. So 3.0%, that will spit out $100,000. So now you have all three numbers. Okay. If you want to get to the fees, you multiply the volume, which they may know, but if they don't know, you've already done that math. You take you multiply number one, the volume, right, by the fee of 3%. Obviously, those are simple numbers. You're going to come up with $3 grand again. So if you do that quick math in front of a customer or on the phone, you're going to understand where they're at. But if they tell you anything of those three numbers, all we need is two of them. We need either the volume or the volume and fees, volume and percentage, or percentage and fees. Either way, we can figure it out. And then you sound educated based on what you're doing there. And then for the fees, it's pretty simple. If they say I'm paying $3,000 a month, all right, you're at $36,000 a year. The market is changing. Customers are not really complaining about having to pay these dual pricing fees or cash discount fees or surcharging fees. They aren't worried because of their points that they're getting back from their credit card companies that gave them their credit card. So it's a wash for most of them, and people really aren't complaining. And you guys all probably know through your own visits to stores online or whatever. But I would say in another 5 years, you aren't going to see very many businesses not passing these fees on. So that's pretty much all I have. If there's any questions or hiccups that you guys have run into over the last week or last month or as long as you've been with DAC, let's throw those questions out there, get them answered right now, and we can go from there.
Yep. Hugh, we have a question from Ruth. Ruth, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
It looks like Ruth is unmuted. We're not hearing you. Let's see. Ruth, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're getting your audio. If you want to message me your question, I'd be happy to ask you it. We'll give Ruth just 1 second to see if they can text me their question. They said, is the payment card settlement.com site the best for the class action lawsuit?
A
That's the question.
secondo. Hang on. Just bringing it up here.
Okay.
The best website to go to is it's got all the HTTPS semicolon / www dot PAYMENTCARD the word settlement.com /EN. So
I'm going to
it's
go ahead and
yeah.
send that in the chat. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so that's obviously www.paymentcardsettlement.com /EN. And they'll give you all those details there. But the deadline, the information that I probably have sent over, I'll get a new updated one. But that has been extended into February. So it was going to be December 13th first, and then they moved it to March, and then they did all kinds of other stuff, but they're trying to get everybody in there. So yeah,
Yep.
just go to that site and you'll get all that information. But I would not give that information like email somebody and say, hey, have you checked this out? I would say, your current rep should be taking care of this for you. But if they haven't, I'm here to tell you that I'd never let that happen. I wanna be your rep, so I'm always going to be in touch with you to make sure that everything that you're looking at needs to be looked at, and that we'll follow through to make sure that we've got you taken care of.
Yep. And Hugh, we got Ruth had one more question. They said, are cities allowed to file for this?
Anybody who has taken a credit card payment, yes.
Okay.
And when you're going down the government road, whether it be a municipality, a city, a township, a state, a county, whatever, You're going to jump through a lot of hoops to get there. But if you convince them, the tough thing with anything government is that most of the time they will not be able to just snap their finger and say, I'm going to go with Ruth, because they have to, in government situations, from the lowest city level all the way up to the federal government, they always have to go through what they call an RFP to get new merchant services. And that's a request for proposal. They are very, very complicated. They take a long time, and you're probably going to spend, I don't know, in my time doing RFPs through companies, we've spent in excess of $20,000 to put the proper RFP together to make sure that we've got a chance of winning it. So you're going to invest a lot of money. I'm not doing that for you. I'm not going to pay for an RFP. But if you get an RFP where you've got a connection, or a municipality, city, township, whatever, state government, they're very, very lucrative, but you're going to put in a tremendous amount of time to try to get that account. If you win it, fantastic, but RFPs are very, very complicated to do, but you got to make sure you do them right.
All right, and we have one more question. Fred raised his hand. So Fred, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hugh, how do we get in touch with you if we were out and needed to talk or get a question answered?
You can call me or text me at 248 672 3777. And usually
Okay.
the best way to do that, Fred, is to send me a text. And if
Okay.
you're with a client that you feel comfortable that they are moving forward in the right direction and you need my guidance, absolutely call me and I'll get on the phone right then and there.
Okay. Okay. And is it any way that we could I don't know have a personal training with you to understand how these credit card works and how everything goes, so that when you do go out and talk with someone, that you are speaking intelligently to them about their credit card and about saving them money?
Right. I mean, I get accused of this all the time, Fred. I've been doing this 22 years, so obviously it's very fluent and very easy for me to do it. But there are a couple components that you have to be really good at, and to get you buried in all kinds of, how to read statements. What does this, what does this mean? What does that mean? I learn 5 new things in this industry every day. So it's impossible for me to train you with everything that happens every single day. But
Right.
the most important thing that I would tell you is you go through your cell phone and see if there's anybody in there that owns a business that you know. Call that person and say, hey, I'm working with a person that's got 22 years of experience in this industry, and they're certain that they can save you money. In order to get an audience with you, you have to supply me with your last 3 months merchant statements. That's it. End of the story. Don't talk after that. If they're willing to give you that information, if they're willing to give you that information, then you're off to the races, because I've got all 3 components. I've got the volume, I've got the fees, and I've got the percentage. So I'll be able to tell
Okay.
that. But if you get great at getting 3 statements from everybody you know that has a business, or you're out cold calling or whatever, just remember that the person you're talking to has probably already been talked to a merchant services rep within the last 5 months.
Right.
So the differentiating thing for you is, hey, this is a free examination of what you're doing right now. And this is the one I always use. When was the last time your Fred called you about your merchant services, to go over it to make sure we're doing it right? And
Right.
then
Okay.
just be quiet. And they will go, what are you talking about? I haven't talked to that person since the day I signed up. And I go, I promise you this, if they aren't calling you, they aren't paying attention to what you need to be paying attention to. Then go into, are you aware that there's a program out there that I can eliminate all your fees. They may, I don't know about that. All right. Have you ever taken an opportunity to look at it to see what's happening? And would you like to talk to somebody that has a lot of experience in the game that has multiple thousands of people that are on dual pricing and getting rid of their credit card processing fees? We will do it right. We will abide by all the laws. We'll abide by everything that we have to do. The number one objection you're going to get there, Fred, is I don't know if I want to do that. I think I'll scare my customers away. Well, based on my results of everybody that I've ever put on that, once they go that way, they never ever come back to the traditional way that they've done it, to where they pay the fees. Now, what will happen is, this is just a little extra info for you guys, is when you move somebody to the dual pricing model, they will for sure get more cash and more check and more ACH, because that's
Right.
just the nature of the people. So if you've got $100,000 account that now is only processing 75 because they're getting the fees assessed, they might be taking 25,000 in cash, which doesn't cost the merchant anything, doesn't cost the business anything. And if they're given a check, the only worry you have there is the check going to be good?
Right.
So those are the number one thing. If I could tell you to do nothing else, you know, and you can Google anything that you want to know in my business. Say, what's the best way to present credit card processing to a cold call? There'll probably be 50, 60 sites out there that'll tell you very, very good and valuable information. But what they're trying to do is bring you on as an agent.
Okay.
And you don't have that same deal with those guys that you have through me and DAC. There's
Right.
not
Right.
there's not too many people out there giving you the participation percentage of the folks that are that are out there promoting what we're talking about. So if you get
Right.
good at anything, get excellent at getting three statements, and I call them report cards, and they go, "What the hell are you talking about, report card?" Well, your last 3 months will tell me how your business did last 90 days. Did you have any
Hmm.
bumps in the road? Did you have any chargebacks? Did you have anything that could cause my bank, when I submit your application to them, any problems? Or are you processing pretty clean right now? If you're processing clean, shoot them over to me. And if you're scared that I'm going to steal some of your information, take a Sharpie and go across the top and black out your account number with whoever you're dealing with, black out who you're dealing with. And there's no banking information on there. Their statements are simply from day one to day 30 or 31, how many transactions you did and what did you get charged for those transactions, and what did the bank add on as a fee on top of all of the fees that they get charged from Visa, MasterCard. Once we
Right.
have that, now I can come back to you and tell you that. But I'm not, I don't waste a lot of time after an initial call. If they say, all right, I'm interested, I say, all right, give me your email. I'm going to give you a list of what you need to give me. And I shoot that out to them right away. And then I'll call them back maybe once or twice. And the reason I was a little late to this call is I was talking to one of the DAC rep accounts right here that,
Okay.
I hadn't talked to him since September. But I said, "Are you still willing to roll?" And he said, "Yeah, I am, but I don't have the money to buy a terminal to do what I need to do." And I said, "Well, you're out there not taking any credit cards, and your business is suffering. You need to borrow the $300 or $400 it costs to get the terminal to get going." And those are the kind of slowdowns that you get. And if we don't get documents, we can't move.
Right. Right. I have a relationship with a gas station owner. He's a Shell station. He's over by my church, and for the last 8, 10 years, I've been, going over and visited with him. And I
Mm-hmm.
talked to him about this, and he was making a statement that he spent $96,000 last year in credit card fees, and
Right.
Shell won't allow him to move or make any changes. Do you know anything about that?
That's on the gas pump part of it. So they have an arrangement with a bank. You know, it's a Shell station, you said?
Yes.
Okay. What state is it in?
Ohio.
Okay. Um, so if he has a, I don't know, a franchise or a license with Shell, and they tell him you cannot, what these places are called, people like me are called third party providers,
Right.
TPPs. And
Right.
what happens is the people at Shell have an arrangement with that gas station owner, just like you have a relationship with me with DAC.
Right.
So if somebody called me and said, "Hey, I found out about you through DAC, but I don't want my commissions or anything going through DAC." Well, I'm going to say, "Well, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that because you came to me through DAC. So I'm not going to hurt that relationship with all the rest of the people. So, and with the parent people at the corporation, David Rutz and all his people, I'm not doing that. So we're kind of locked. If you want a merchant account through us, you're going through DAC, and then I'll place you with the proper processor. But that guy at Shell is not going to jeopardize his credit card processing. But I would ask him to ask Shell. It may have changed. He might say, he heard back in 2020 that Shell would not allow outside third party providers. Well, most gas stations, and you have to educate me here in Ohio, do they have, when you pull up to a gas station at that particular station, do they have a cash price for gasoline, then a debit price, and then a credit price?
No, not out. No, no. You put
Okay.
in and you can put your credit card in and do it, or you go inside, you use your credit card or the cash is all the same.
Right, right,
You
right.
don't have a
So in the state of Ohio, in Michigan, where I am, in Michigan, 99% of the gas station have three prices: cash price, debit price, credit price. What the
mm,
owners of those people are doing, and we always use that as an example, because when you're getting paid cash merchant, you're not paying any fees, you're good. Debit, you're paying a little bit less to the processor. So let's call it 1%. And then on credit, you could be paying anywhere from 2.5 to 3. So that's why his fees are $96,000 a year. So that particular guy, just this a perfect example. So hang on one second. So that guy's fees were $96,000. I'm gonna guess that his 96,000. I'm gonna guess that it's because the card is always present in those environments, meaning that you stick your credit card right into the card reader at the pump.
right,
So he's probably um, he's probably at, I'm going to say 2.5%. So he's doing $3.8 million of value. So here's the thing to him, because you got a great relationship with him, $96,000 a year. I can put that in your pocket, but we have to find at the gas pump part of it, we would have to find out if Shell will allow outside third party providers to integrate a merchant number, because you wouldn't have to change any of the pumps. All you're
right,
doing is on the backside, you're taking out a merchant ID. It's a 16-digit code. Take that one out and put us in. Now, on the second part of that, and this is a great question that you've asked, there's the inside store where they're selling candy bars and pop and doing whatever, right?
right.
That part of the Shell store, they can do whatever they want.
Okay,
So he might be including his gas fees, his gas credit card processing fees might be half of that. So he might
right,
have, $45,000, $45,000 divided by 2.5%. He might be doing about 1,800,000, half of that volume in the what we call the candy stores. So you can
right,
get you
right,
can get a coffee, you can get a donut, you can do whatever you want to do at that convenience store. So basically, all these gas station owners, they own a convenience store and they own the pumps. If they
right.
say absolutely not on the pumps, It will not happen. It will never happen. And they're probably, knowing how gigantic Shell is and all these other places, gasoline companies, they absolutely have somebody like me at a monster processor that is paying them back for all the processing they're sending. Because you're talking about, $4 million almost that he's doing. And, I mean, the Shell stations, you probably, in the United States, there's hundreds of thousands of them.
Right.
But the interior stores, that's 100% up to them.
Okay. Okay. And I didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
it was everything. So that's great news.
It might be everything because I don't know the agreement. If I'm a gas station owner, I'm going to say, hey, Shell, I need my gasoline at, let's just use round numbers. I need all my gasoline per gallon at $1. And I need whatever other stuff goes along with the candy store. I need whatever supplies. I don't know where they get their supplies for the interior stores, but Shell might have a commissary company that supplies all of the gas stations. And you might
Right.
say, I need that for, 25% over your cost. And they'll say, okay, we'll do 25% over on the candy store. So, a candy bar buying it costs $1, and whoever's selling it to them pumps it up to $1.25, and they sell it to you and I for $1.75. That's where they're making all their money. But they may go back to that Shell oil and say, tell you what, you give me a better deal on the candy store, and I'll let you have the credit card process. And they'll say yes every single time. But
Okay.
if they're not doing the dual pricing, I don't think, if I'm putting, I drive a truck, so every time I fill up right now, it's $80. So times 4%, it would be another $3.20. We can eliminate that whole entire thing, and especially in the candy store, it's basically 2 million inside, 2 million outside. That's a gigantic account for you, Fred. But
Okay.
I would, I've looked at a few in my time, and I have been stonewalled by the gasoline company. But if you, if you can get in there and you can get a copy of their statements for both sides, then you and I got a pretty good shot at for sure getting the inside. But then you have to ask on the inside, what POS system are you using? Whatever they're using at the cash register, what's spitting out the receipt, what software you have. If that software is also a Shell Oil software company, same question needs to be asked there. Do you
Okay.
allow third party providers to step in and take care of your current processing? Because at that point, we could have a unbelievable relationship with them, and at $1.8 million times, let's say 2.5%, that's, we're talking about saving them $45,000.
Okay. Okay.
So,
It's worth working on.
yeah, it's worth, yeah. And the bottom line of it is, just like we started out this explanation to you, I cannot do anything until you provide me your statements,
Right.
because we can talk all day long. I'm going to just put this in a high school environment. Your kid comes home from high school and you say, how you doing in school? On all 5 classes, A+ in every one of them. All right, let me see the report card. And then you look and it's a C, a D, a B, an E, and an F. You go,
Yeah.
hey, I can, now I can react.
Right.
Now I know you've been telling me stories. Same thing with merchant services. I cannot go to, especially at a $2 million account, I can't walk that
Right.
into my processor and say, what do you think? Guy's doing 4 million a year or 4 million a month. What do you think about, just give me a quote just based on what I'm telling you. They say, goodbye, click. But let me do so. I'm doing something here real quick. Times 2.50%. I was just going through the numbers again. He's probably spending 100 grand easy on credit card fees,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
He was
it's,
he was very adamant about that.
yeah, oh yeah, everybody knows that.
Right.
Every merchant you will ever talk to. Hey, how much you
Okay.
paying in credit card fees? That's a great opening line. And would you like me to knock that down a bit or get rid of it altogether? And then just be quiet. And they'll
Okay.
go, well, what are you talking about? How can you get rid of them? Well, you give me the statements, I'll put together a proposal. We'll get in front of you and we'll show you what we're doing.
Okay. That sounds good. That's easy enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I
Yep,
appreciate the time you just spent.
no problem, sir.
Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have, Hugh. As always, we appreciate your time. Thanks for going over. I know we try to keep these meetings under 30 minutes. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to reach out to support at David Allen Capital. And we'll see everybody tomorrow for the Friday agent update call. Thanks again,
And
Hugh.
they,
Thanks, everybody.
hey, and they can also have them text me the questions.
Hmm. Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
and we'll rip
Once
through
again,
that.
everybody, Hugh's number is in the chat. So if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to Hugh, or if you don't have his number, reach out to support and we can connect you with Hugh. But thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.